I'm really excited to be with you all today for our session on comparing pension options. Now, let's talk about what we're covering. Today is all about helping you model and compare those pension choices that your clients often face. Many clients are deciding between a lump sum pension payout and an ongoing pension income stream. So, our goal today is to show you how to model both options, build custom scenarios, and clearly compare the impact of each strategy inside the system today. We'll also highlight the key visuals and comparison tools that are going to make it easier to communicate those decisions to clients in a clear and confident way as well. So to bring this to life, we're going to be working in a case study featuring Randall and Beth Pearson. We're going to start in our profile just to get a quick snapshot of the financial plan before we get into modeling those different options. So let's dive right into it. I'm in my advisor portal right now, but I'm going to go ahead and open this client plan. And I'm going to initially direct your attention over to the Profile tab and the Blueprint tab. Now, the Blueprint tab is a great starting place regardless of what type of comparison modeling you're doing with a client plan. The Blueprint is a visual representation of all of the data entry in the other profile tabs up here. So we have net worth, goals, income, savings, and expenses, as well as the family. And all of that is making up the base case or the current plan within the RightCapital system. Instead of going through all the individual tabs, however, it can be easier and more straightforward to just look at the blueprint that's going to combine all of the different data entry steps that we've gone through when we were first building out this plan. So it's a great way to pinpoint if things need to be updated. We can see everything in one spot. We can make changes, add new items, and remove things that are no longer relevant to the client plan. It's also great to get an overview of the client plan that you're working with. So today, just to give you guys a good idea of who exactly we're dealing with when we're talking about the Pearsons, we can see here their net worth is listed out at just over 1.5 million. They are in their 60s at this time, and there is a child in the plan they are planning for in some capacity as well. So we have Deja listed in the upper corner here. We can see that the accounts within the plan are mapped out by owner, which is very nice. So we have Randall's accounts as well as Beth's accounts on the right-hand side here. And then anything that's jointly held is going to be included in the middle. These clients do have a primary home and a rental property, as well as a mortgage tied to that primary home still. There also is a credit card and some additional loans in the system here, like a car loan. Now, the blueprint is interactive, so for anybody who's not familiar with the functionality of the screen, if you are going through this with a client and you do have to make adjustments in real time, you can click into these tiles here and they're going to open up so you can make adjustments as needed right from the screen. This will flow into the rest of the plan and all the projections as well. And then up here at the Add Account button, you can add additional items to the net worth. So if there are things that maybe need to be included that we've missed or are new to the plan, we can throw them in right from the screen as well. So we really can manipulate a lot of the current plan from just this area. On top of this, we have our goals timeline, and this is a pretty straightforward goals timeline for this sample case today, where we just have the retirement ages and some monthly expenses for retirement, as well as those retirement long-term and health costs. Those are going to indicate retirement healthcare costs in the later years of the plan as the clients are approaching the latter half of the projection here. And we can see any goals that are listed out in the goals tab are also going to be included here as well, where you can add additional items with the add button too. And then last tab here is our income, savings, and expenses. So again, just highlighting what's coming into the plan, what's leaving the plan, and what is our savings contributions at this time. We can see Randall and Beth's salary, as well as the Social Security that's entered within the system that we're projecting out for these clients. Our savings, we are contributing to 401ks as well as a taxable account. And then we have our retirement monthly expenses with an additional medical expense in the system here. But excellent. So now that we have a kind of an idea of who we're working with today, the point of today's webinar is to go through comparing a couple of different pension options for Randall's pension scenario specifically. So we have two different lump sum options, and then we also have two different income stream options. So we're going to go through and do these within the proposed area of our plan. And for anybody who's not familiar, that's going to be within the retirement tab along the top here. Within the first sub-tab of retirement, we land on analysis. And in the analysis tab is where we're going to do a lot of this what if scenario modeling here. We have helpful visuals up above highlighting our indicators of financial security. This is running our Monte Carlo calculation, indicating the probability of success of our financial plan. And these visuals up above can be impacted by the action items down below, giving us the ability to manipulate certain scenarios to see how this would impact our proposed plan. So if I scroll back up just a little bit here, as a quick example, just to showcase the functionality, we can take a look at proposing a different retirement age. So for example, in the current plan, Randall is looking to retire at age 67, and maybe we're gonna see what it looks like if we extend that out to age 70. I can use the slider along the side here, or I can type it in the box, and then when I'm ready to make my change, I'll just hit refresh on the bottom. You can also hit enter on your keyboard. And then we can see in real time the impact on the change from our probability of success and our median ending portfolio value compared to the current plan where we're retiring at 67. Now, that's not totally the focus of the presentation today in terms of retirement ages, but just to showcase again the functionality of how these action items are going to impact your plan is always a great refresher for anybody who's not too familiar with the system yet. That being said, we have, like I mentioned, a couple of different options for Randall's pension that we need to consider in order to make the best decision for these clients. So, the first option that we are going to model is that first lump sum pension option. So it's a lump sum that we're going to model going into the client's account. And we'll use the current proposed plan as kind of our base for this. And we see our current plan and our proposed plan start off identical, as I mentioned. And then as we make the changes down below, we're going to see that impact. In order to model this lump sum, this is a brand new item that we're bringing into the plan here, completely unrelated to anything else in the system. So we're going to click the edit button down below. Now, this edit screen is going to allow us to bring in additional action items that are already included in the current plan. So, for example, we saw that we had long-term care entered within the goals tab. And if we wanted to adjust the long-term care duration or the long-term care cost, even though it's already in the system, we can make a proposal to adjust the long-term care. And we can do that from checking off these boxes, and they'll be brought in as action items. However, since we are modeling a completely independent lump sum option here, we're going to click the Add New Items button in the bottom corner, and this is going to help us model something that's completely new to the system here. The way to model a lump sum pension in RightCapital is actually to use a savings card. So you're going to hover over Savings, we're going to hover over Other, and we're going to find our tax-deferred savings card. So this is how we model a lump sum pension into the system here. We can title the savings name. So I'm just going to title this lump sum number 1, since we're going to model a couple of different options here. But the first one is going to be a lump sum option where we're considering a one-time lump sum of $375,000. We're going to keep the owner as Randall here. And the target is going to adjust that contribution. So we are going to stick with the annual dollar amount, but you can utilize a percentage of salary income if you happen to be using the tax deferred card in that capacity as well. But for today's purposes, modeling a lump sum, we're going to leave this on that annual dollar amount. Now we can indicate when the savings starts and when it ends. We have a lot of control over when this starts and ends, whether it's a specific calendar year or the client's age, or we can even tie it to retirement. In this specific scenario, we're going to model what it looks like to take this at retirement here. When you're modeling a one-time savings contribution, as long as we have the starts and ends in the same year or the same metric in this case, retirement, this is going to model a one-time. Now, if you're modeling, from calendar year 2026 all the way to calendar year 2030, that's going to be a couple years of income, right? So as long as we keep it within the same year, that'll model that one-time lump sum contribution. Down below, we can apply an annual increase to this, but it's not necessarily relevant to apply an annual increase to a one-time contribution, so we'll leave that at 0. And then we can indicate if this is going to be saved to a traditional IRA or a 401k type of an account. In this case, we're going to leave it at 401k. So pretty straightforward when it comes to modeling that lump sum option here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save, which is going to add this to our proposed plan. We can see the action item populates down here under the savings category, and this green dot is indicating that this is only something that is impacting our proposed plan. When I scroll up to the top here, we can see the impact of what this is going to do on our client plan here. We see a nice increase to our probability of success from 94 to 99%. So what was already a strong plan is now even stronger. And then we are also seeing a nice bump in our median ending portfolio value as well from 2.7 to 4.2 million. So overall, we're seeing a net impact of a positive to this plan, but we have some additional scenarios to model. So let's go ahead and take a look at creating a couple of other options that we can compare and contrast what would be best for this client plan. Instead of clouding my proposed plan with a bunch of options here that we'll have to turn on and off in order to isolate specific action items, I'm going to utilize a feature where we can create additional proposed plans within RightCapital. In order to create multiple proposed plans, we'll click Add or Remove Plans here. This is going to allow us to add additional plans into the system here. We have our ability to copy the existing proposed plan, which is going to copy the action items that we've added, and then we can build off of that, or we can just add a completely brand new plan. So in this case, I'll add a new plan. We'll click a new plan here, and that's going to allow us to title this plan. So, and now what we're looking at is instead of a lump sum option, we're going to be modeling a pension income stream. And there are going to be quite a few different data entry points for us to go through when we're modeling that income stream. So I'm going to go ahead and title this pension income one, and we'll title this stream so that way we can keep track of it. And I always recommend titling these plans whatever is most easy for you to keep track of as you're doing your scenarios, just so nothing gets kind of lost in all the weeds of what we're modeling. So when you do make your title change, go ahead and click the check to save the name change, and then we'll hit OK. And you'll notice here we have a drop down that is identified above both of the current and proposed plans here. When modeling in the retirement analysis tab, the plan that we're going to manipulate with the action items must be selected on the left-hand side. So I'm going to choose pension income stream number 1 on the left-hand side here, and we can see that our probability of success and median ending portfolio value do reset back to the current plan here. Now, in this case, we are going to take a look at modeling that pension income stream. And to do so, we're going to follow very similar steps since this is another brand new item that we're introducing to the plan. We're going to click Edit and then Add New Items. When it comes to modeling a continuous income stream, we're going to select Income. We're going to hover our cursor over Other. And we're going to, oh, not Other, we're going to select Pension here. My eyes are glazing over the screen. Here we go. So, and now we have our pension income. So we can title this pension income number 1. I'll title the stream again. And in this case, we're modeling that annual amount. So this is going to be modeling an income stream where we're getting income for multiple years in a row. In this case, the annual amount we're considering is $37,000. We're going to leave the owner to Randall since we're considering Randall's options here. And the income starts in this case is going to be at retirement. But you, of course, have control for whatever your client situation specifically is. Now we have the type field. There are a couple of different options within the type field. We have our first option, which is certain only. And this is going to reflect payments out of this pension income stream for a specific duration of time. So would the year that the income is going to end should be in this guaranteed period field. So if you're modeling a pension income with a certain only period and the guaranteed period is 2050, that means the income is going to stop in 2050. We will be entering 2050 in that guaranteed period here. The other option available to us is certain or life. And this is going to reflect payments from the pension for either the longer of the client's life or the period indicated. So if the client outlasts the guaranteed period, they will continue to collect. But if the guaranteed period, of course, is longer than the client's life, then the client will not be receiving that income, right? So we have certain in life, and then we have life only, which is just going to be lifetime income that is extending as long as the client is alive, we're getting that payout. Excellent. We do have the ability to apply an annual increase to this as well. We can apply a customized increase, or we can tie it to the general inflation assumption here. If we are modeling an increase, we do have our increase type, which we can indicate is either going to be just simple or compounded. So depending on the growth that we're modeling here, we have that flexibility as well. And for today's purposes, we're going to model a 3% increase. Now for our cost basis, this amount is representing the portion of the pension that's funded with those after-tax contributions. This amount is not going to be taxed again because it was taxed previously before getting paid into the plan. This is going to be a relevant field for those non-qualified pension options. However, if your pension is qualified, this should be left at zero. Very similar sort of psychology for the exclusion ratio. This is the percentage of each pension payment that is treated as a return of after-tax contributions. So we are going to leave this also at zero if the pension is qualified. Today we are modeling a qualified pension, so I'm going to leave both of these at zero. And then down below, we have our survivor percentage, and this is just representing the percentage of the pension that the surviving spouse would continue to receive if Randall passed away first. So if Randall passed away, the survivor would continue to receive half of the annual amount for their lifetime as well here. I'll go ahead and leave this at 50. So Beth will receive a 50% survivor percentage if Randall were to pass away earlier. And then you do have the ability to model if this is going to be state tax exempt. So these clients are living in Connecticut at this time, and that state tax that's entered within the family tab is going to be taken into consideration here. But if your pension is state tax exempt, you do have the ability to exclude this from that scenario as well. Once we've gone through and entered all of our different options here, we'll go ahead and hit save. And this is going to show us what the impact of the plan is as well. So now we have even a more compelling option here where we're looking at our current plan from that 94% to a full 100% probability of success, as well as, again, another nice bump to that median ending portfolio value. And I just want to back up here for anybody who's not familiar on how we're getting these calculations. Our Monte Carlo calculation takes the plan parameters and runs it through 1,000 trials with random returns and volatility injected into the trials. The percentage of trials that make it to the end of the planning horizon without running out of funds are considered a success. So within the current plan, we have 940 out of the 1,000 Monte Carlo trials that make it to the end of the planning horizon without running out of funds. For this pension income stream number one plan, we have all 1,000 out of 1,000 Monte Carlo trials that are making it to the end of the planning horizon without running out of funds. Now, the second metric we have here is our median ending portfolio value, and this is slightly separate. While we do take into account this is our Monte Carlo calculation, this is a direct representation of trial 500. So this isn't to say this is exactly what the clients are going to end up with at the end of their plan. It is the median ending portfolio value. So the ending portfolio value that we've gotten at the end of trial 500. And if you're trying to explain this to a client and they're really having a hard time grasping this, a really good visual to kind of explain that range of Monte Carlo trials is our confidence tab along the top here. So we can see here we have a very tight chart that then expands as we approach the end of the planning horizon, since there are more scenarios that could occur as we project further and further out into the future, right? Again, we are injecting return scenarios and random volatility into this calculation here. If we follow this deep blue line is trial 500. So we can directly follow the trajectory of this trial throughout the length of the Monte Carlo. If I hover my cursor all the way over the very last year of this calculation in the confidence tab, we can see that median 4.7 million is the same 4.7 million that's displaying in our proposed plan. So again, the confidence tab is going to display the outcome of the proposed plan, whichever one is selected on the left-hand side. I always just like to give a good idea here of where we're getting these figures from, so you have a good idea, so we can explain it to our clients as well. Now, we also have some other helpful visuals in the system here that are going to showcase these different comparison options as we're going through and trying to highlight the points that we need to make to our clients. And a really good tab to showcase the differences between a current and a proposed plan is going to be actually under the comparisons tab here. The comparisons tab is showcasing some scenario analyses for different metrics within the plan. In this case, we're looking at invested assets. So we can see that our pension income stream plan for that first option has about 2 million more in ending assets than the current plan. We also can see here our total net worth, any adjustments in taxes, and our assets at retirement here. So we can see how these items might change, of course. Going back to our probability tab, if you did want to showcase these two plans side by side, right? We have our income stream and we also have our lump sum option. I can always highlight our lump sum option by bringing the proposed plan onto the right-hand side here, and we can see them side by side. The comparisons tab is also going to reflect this for us as we have selected the plan on the right-hand side and the left-hand side. We can see here now that the pension income stream has about a $500,000 higher difference than the lump sum option. So that's going to be the way to inject both of these plans to do a side-by-side comparison looking at these specific metrics. Same thing with invested assets. So now our income stream has about 500,000 more invested assets than the proposed plan with that lump sum option included. Excellent. Well, let's take a look at the next option here that we're going to be looking at, and that's going to be our second income stream. In this case, we're going to explore an income stream that has a higher income for the annual income field. However, it's going to incur a lower survivor benefit in this case. So there was a bit of a trade-off here between if Randall passes away early, Beth wouldn't see as much of a benefit, if any at all, for a survivor percentage standpoint. However, they will be getting a higher annual income amount. So that is something to consider, when we're making these decisions with our clients. So in this case, I am going to create an additional proposed plan here, and there is no limit to the number of proposed plans you create. However, I am going to create a completely new plan here. And I'm going to title this one Pension Income Stream number 2. This is going to be our second one. Go ahead and make that selection, hit that check mark, and I'll hit OK. We will select it on the left-hand side again here, and it's going to reset back to our current plan since we just made a copy of the current plan. And then very similar process, I'm going to scroll down. I'll click Edit to get my brand new item into the system here. We're going to hover over income and we're going to select that pension option here. Now we have the similar fields that we were just looking at. So this is income stream number 2. Our annual amount in this case is going to bump up from 37,000 to 44,000. Owner is still Randall. We're still considering Randall's situation. And in this case, we're going to take the pension a little bit later as well. So we're going to, instead of switching this to retirement, where the client's retiring at 67, we're going to adjust this to Randall's age 70 here. I'm going to leave the type to life only. We're going to put our customized increase of 3% back in here. And then because we are modeling qualified pension options, my cost basis and exclusion ratio can remain 0. And then since we are taking a higher annual amount, we are reducing that survivor percentage. So we're not going to see any survivor percentage within this specific option here. Something to consider, point out to your clients. I'll go ahead and hit save now. We can see a bit of an adjustment on our probability of success. So if you'll remember, pension income stream 1 allowed for a $4.7 million median ending portfolio value. And in this case, we're looking at a 4.5. So if we wanted to compare the pension income stream with the higher survivor versus the lower survivor, we can see the side by side here. And again, same thing within the comparisons tab where we're showcasing the different metrics based on the items that we have selected in those drop downs above. Now, the final option here for pension income is going to be a second lump sum. This is also going to occur a little bit later in life instead of 67 at retirement. This is going to occur at age 70. So I'm going to go ahead and create my additional plan. We'll click add a new plan here. I'm sure you're getting the hang of these different modeling scenarios. And if you are, that's great. It means you're learning here. We'll go ahead and title this lump sum number 2. And of course, you can have more exciting naming conventions that I do if that's what tickles your fancy. We'll go ahead and select lump sum number 2 in my drop down here. It's going to reset my action items. I'm going to scroll back down, and if you remember which savings card we are modeling the pension lump sum with, drum roll please, that is our tax deferred savings card. So we'll pop that guy back open here. We will go ahead and title this lump sum number 2 just so we can keep track of everything here. Our contribution in this case is going to be $440,000, I should say. So we're taking this a little bit later. We're going to be able to benefit a little bit more from a higher lump sum amount versus taking it at 67. So in this case, if you'll remember, we need to make sure our savings starts and ends is 1 year or the same year. So that way we're only modeling a one-time contribution. And then this time we're going to tie it to Randall's age at 70. So we're going to do this on both sides to ensure a one-time contribution. And then we're going to be looking at contributing this to our 401k bucket. I'll go ahead and hit save here. And as we can pretty much assume, we'll see a nice bump to our probability of success here. So not quite 100% on that probability, most likely due to the fact that these are guaranteed income sources over a long period of time versus a one-time lump sum, where some volatility in the market can, kind of wipe that out quickly if we are running into a low market year, based on our Monte Carlo calculation, of course, which again is injecting that random volatility in there. So we could see projection years with bad market outcomes. Now that we have all these different options here, not only do we have the comparisons tab to take a look at the differences between the plans that we have selected, we also have our retirement details tab, which is going to include a really helpful visual here of our income sources for the plan after retirement. Excuse me, I had a bit of a tickle in my throat there. With the income sources, it's going to show us the percentage of income that is stable within this plan. In this case, this is going to include, stable income is going to include Social Security income, pension income, and annuity income. So let me go ahead and select a plan on the left-hand side here that has that income stream, just so I can showcase to you what that's going to look like in our retirement details chart here. And we can see the blue here now is going to be that pension income that we modeled within our what if scenario. So again, that stable income that is shown here, 65 of our income in retirement is stable. That is coming from Social Security income, pension income, and any annuity income if that is included in the plan. Another really helpful chart here is our income comparison chart. Again, just showing the percentage of stable income here. And I have both of these same plans selected on both sides, which is why we're seeing the same here. But let's take a look at just switching this to our proposed plan on the left, on the right-hand side, and we can go back and look at that comparison. So again, our pension income stream plan has a higher percentage of stable income since we're taking that income over a longer annual period versus one lump sum here. We can see within the proposed plan where we're doing that initial lump sum option of $375,000, we only have 50% of stable income. So again, nothing here to say that this is the wrong decision or the right decision. It's just more data for you and your clients to make the best decision that will help their financial future in this case. So again, just wanting to give you guys as much ammo as possible, but I do believe that the income comparison and the income sources chart are going to be some of the most valuable visuals we have here just to showcase this to your clients. And you can generate all of these into a PDF deliverable as well, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I also want to highlight where we're going to be able to find this information in our cash flow projections as well. If you're not familiar with our cash flow projections, this is going to be where we're uh, projecting out the income year by year for this specific plan and really showing the specific nuances of when incomes are going in, what's going out, and what's happening behind the scenes of all the actions we've just manipulated within our probability tab. So if you're not familiar with where the cash flows is, it's going to be right in the retirement tab, but instead of analysis, we're going to go to the opposite side and click on cash flows here. Now, in the very first tab that we land on, we have our Maps tab. Our Maps tab is a nice visual of our cash flows, showcasing one year with specific colored boxes to identify the income or expense type that is in that specific year. In this case, we're looking at 2026. So in 2026, we have our combined salary. And if you click on the underlined column here, we can see whose salary is whose and what makes that up, as well as our additional income sources here. We can see our expenses, that's broken out into living expenses. Housing, we can break out housing for what's being charged on each individual category within our housing options here. So this is a super nice visual within the cash flows. And as we get to the years where we are taking a look at producing some income, for example, we have our proposed plan selected. So let's see, 67. We have our income inflows here. So this is what we're looking at in the year of retirement. Now, this is a super helpful chart, super visual to highlight just one year, but if you do want to take a look at our summary tab, this is where we're going to really see the specific income for each specific year, the expenses for that year, the tax payment that's being calculated on the back end for you is all displayed within our cash flows tab. The cash flows can look a little bit intimidating when you first look at it, but I do promise the more you get comfortable with it, the more of a story it's going to be able to tell you about your client plan. When we're looking for specific plans within our summary tab, we have this drop down here. So right now we're looking at a proposed plan, which is that lump sum option. However, we can take a look at our pension income stream as well. We can see what this is going to look like. So if I go ahead and click into my income inflows column, we're going to see our pension income stream display in the income inflows tab. As I'm clicking the underlined column headers, I'm able to get deeper down into what these numbers are, and I can see my pension income with my 3% increase projected, and it is a life-only selection, so we're going to get that all the way until the end of the planning horizon here. When it comes to taking a look at those lump sum options, the best place to see the impact of a lump sum contribution is going to be the accounts tab all the way on the right-hand side. And not only can we look at the ending balance by accounts here, where we might be able to see a decent increase, we also can look at the additions to accounts. So in this case, our lump sum option is getting deposited into the client's 401k at $440,000 at age 70, right? Because we're delaying that versus 67. So we can see that addition to account and that growing our 401k. Same thing for our initial proposed plan where we're getting that 375,000 at age 67. So we're going to be able to see these impacts here as we're looking through the plans. Same thing with the net cash flow should also be showing that information. And you can look at other tabs here if you want to just track the account balances over time. There is really a lot of functionality within the cash flow. So I know I'm just highlighting a specific part of it, but don't hesitate to click around and take a look at what else you can find here. But in terms of finding those pension option manipulations, we're going to be in the accounts tab and specifically additions to accounts to see the lump sum. And then again, just as a reminder, to look at the pension income stream, we're going to be in the summary tab, income inflows. And you do have to have your income stream plan selected up atop here to see that display. Excellent. Alrighty. And then for anybody who's looking to generate a report within this system here as well, we are always super happy to plug the report feature within RightCapital. It's going to be found in the gear icon at the top here and then report. This is going to include all of the visuals available to you in RightCapital, all the different modules, and you can see some of the modules are underlined. So for example, with retirement analysis and all the modeling we were doing, you saw that I displayed a lot of different visuals available to you. So if we just included the entire retirement analysis, there are likely going to be a lot of visuals that maybe aren't too relevant to the client conversation. So it's important to take a look here and select the specific visuals you want to include. In this case, we talked a lot about probability. We talked about the income sources, and we do have the ability to take a look at our select plans toggle here. And this is going to allow us to include all of the different plans within our report here. So maybe you want to highlight a report that only selects two of the plans instead of giving your clients too many options to look at, even though you did the modeling for all of them. You can pick and choose, which plans you want to include in your report. Once you make that selection, feel free to make additional selections as necessary. You can curate these reports however you'd like. You'll just click download selected pages and it'll download this report as a PDF to your computer where you can then email it to your client, print it out, give it to your client, or you can even upload it to the client's vault in one step here and they can access it if you've given them permission to their client portal as well.